Okay, today I'm interviewing Corinne Meadors. Corinne is a versatile and award-winning actor, singer, and filmmaker. She is known for Neighbour, The Great Controversy Ended, and Fire on the Ridge, but has had dozens of roles across multiple mediums and genres. Corinne comes from New Bedford, Massachusetts, but lives in London. She holds numerous qualifications in her field, including a BA from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, I think that's the correct pronunciation. And Corinne, can you tell us a bit about your journey in the entertainment industry and how you came to be an actor, vocalist, and filmmaker?
Well, it all started through exposure, really, through my parents. And essentially, it's their interests, which they passed down to me. So these are inherited interests of mine. Started very young on the stage. And the more that I took on and the more that I was exposed to, it kind of opened my world for these different interests, ultimately culminating in a decision that I made about a decade ago to focus solely working in film, taking in all of these interests and then converting it into this goal to just, be a working actor in film.
Okay, and what are some of the most memorable roles or projects that you've worked on as an actor?
The first experience I had is very memorable. I was part of an ensemble in The King and I that was co-directed by both of my parents, Pierre and Leslie. And that was a very moving experience for me because not only was I in it, I was in it along with my siblings. It was a community effort, and I got to see essentially everything that went into bringing something onto the stage and bringing it to life and sharing it with the community at large. So that's one role. More recently, my role as Lee in the docudrama The Great Controversy Ended. And why that's so memorable is because that was a role that took on a lot of the heaviness of what it truly feels to be isolated. And when you're put in a position where you're forced to give up something that you refuse to give up and ultimately ends in your passing. So that was indeed a memorable role as well.
Could you identify with that role?
I think all of us on a personal level, I think we've all felt isolated in some degree. And it's one of those things that it's kind of like an unspoken human sort of condition where you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders and nobody understands. And I think for, as a person on walking on this earth, I think the most isolating feeling is grief and carrying grief, but it is a part of life, and it's something we all, we can relate to one another with it. But when you're experiencing it, you're extremely isolated.
No, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. Grief is, yeah, I think it's something we can all identify with, and it's a horrible thing.
Yeah,
But it's part of life,
it is. It's a part of life. So not to go dark, but
No, of course not. But it's life. It's life. I was interested when you did The King and I. How old were you then? I'm trying to get it in my picture in my head.
Sure. I probably should have added that little tidbit. I was 9 years old, and and I had not had any stage experience prior to that, other than just like doing things with school. But that was the first real experience I had that stuck with me, and yeah, I haven't looked back since.
And so it must have been a positive experience.
Oh, it was a wonderful experience and it was unforgettable. In fact, people who were involved with it, people that I'm still in touch with, that are in touch with my family, still talk about it. I mean, to this day, and it was decades ago. But yeah, that was a very special experience, and the Rodgers and Hammerstein, who essentially did the music for and the lyrics for The King and I. Um, as someone who's, also a singer, it opened my mind up to the musical world of theater. So it has its many prongs, that kind of that stimulated my young mind and really got me curious.
And so you actually enjoyed being up on the stage. You enjoyed that whole experience, because I know some people hate being on the stage and it's the last thing they want to do, but you
I,
enjoy it.
it does require a lot of mental preparation. I mean, it is nerve-wracking. I don't know of anybody who goes on stage feeling like, oh yeah, I got this, no problem, who isn't nervous. The stage experiences that I've had have all been carried there, sort of like you feel panic. And it's like, I have to do this in front of all of these people. And then after that, a lot of it was primarily focused on music as a classically trained singer and singing oratorio or singing opera in an auditorium or a hall or a church filled with dozens, if not a few hundred people. And yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but it's also there's an adrenaline rush and a profound sense of accomplishment when you've actually finished the task at hand.
Which is singing the aria, or
Oh, it could be an aria, or it could be something relative to an oratorio, or it could be a piece of opera, or recital piece. Yeah, there's so many parts to that beast that is classical music.
but do you get almost like a buzz from it, or a high from that? Is that what you mean by sense of achievement?
Yeah, you do get a buzz from it, and it is addicting. You look forward to the next opportunity where you can take on something like that and give it your all and offer yourself up and share what you have inside of you to kind of get the art across, hopefully, to the people who are there watching and listening.
Okay. Can you think of something you've done in the past that you're particularly proud of, and don't be modest?
Yes. I would say moving from the East Coast, from Cape Cod, all the way to the West Coast, to San Francisco, by myself, and with my own resources. And this occurred shortly after 9/11. And the tragedy of 9/11 kind of left me in a state of, okay, I want to take control of my own life and live my life on my own terms. And I felt the way that I could only truly achieve that is to move far away from home and start over again. And in doing so, I was able to meet my husband, and I started a family of my own. So, and then since then, it's been a matter of being a mother, staying connected to the things that I love to do, and also being there for family on both coasts. And so that's what my biggest accomplishment is, I would say. But now I'm in London, so I'm overseas.
Okay. So as someone who's in the spotlight, how important is skincare and wellness to you? And do you have any particular routines or products that you would swear by?
Um, Skincare is very important to me. And, you know, I would have to say that routine is especially important. Of the routines, I would say the nighttime routine is very important. And I mean, with that, I'm always washing my face at night. I use a face cloth to exfoliate gently. I apply moisturizer and, for nighttime moisturizer, what I like to use in terms of products currently, and it's always changing, I always like trying something new, is the Medicate cream cleanser with the toner and the nighttime moisturizer for my nighttime routine. In the daytime, I use the same cream cleanser, toner, and then I use a Charlotte Tilbury if I'm wearing makeup. If I'm not wearing makeup, then I use the I think it's a Rochelle Posay. It's a sunscreen SPF of 50 that I use. If I don't have to wear makeup, I'm all for it. I'll just wear the sunscreen and a little bit of blush and I'm good to go. but but yeah, those are the products that I like to use. Routines, washing my face at night, in the morning, getting reasonable amount of sleep, drinking water. Coffee doesn't count. I do drink a lot of coffee, but drinking a lot of water, of course, exercising and, recovering, resting is a big part of it as well.
Yeah. Looking after yourself, taking care of your appearance, it all makes sense. Because you've got great skin and you've obviously thought a lot about it. And a lot of people skip the exfoliation part of it. And so it's a really important one to get rid of the dead skin cells, and you can really nourish the younger skin underneath.
It really is. You notice a difference. When you think about it on like a cellular level, you think about washing your face. You can just put soap in your hands and then wash your face, but it's not, if you have makeup on, it's not going to do the job, but you really have to lightly scrub it off. So that way you have a clean surface. So your moisturizer and toner and all that stuff can easily absorb through the skin.
I was just going to say, so I've got a new cleansing balm. I've got 2 new cleansing balms coming out, so
Nice.
I'll let you try them out, and we'll figure
Okay,
out
great.
And so, do you have to use different skincare regimes when you're, filming and makeup and so on, compared to normal times, as it were?
It's essentially it's the same. You usually know in advance if you're going to set and they want you to come in full makeup. Sometimes they leave that to you. Nowadays things are shot all in high definition. So this era of loading on tons and tons of makeup for super bright lights, it's in the past, unless you're on a studio set. So you think of people who are announcing the news and things like that. It's different. But for film shot in high def, usually they ask that you come to set with a clean skin with, moisturizer on, and then they just take it from there. And it's just the same. So I try to maintain this consistency because you never know when something might come up. It's not just showing up to do a project. It could be showing up in your own living room to do a self-tape, and you have to be, you have to have look your best in that sense too. So it's a day-to-day making sure that you're ready to go whenever anything might happen at a given moment. So yeah.
And you chose, I think Medicate, you said there, because I'm guessing because it's more of a clinical brand.
I think Medicaid is clinical. But it is accessible through other resources. So I feel like it's one of those products that's kind of on the fence.
Yeah.
It's clinical, but it's not drugstore,
Yeah, exactly. It's a good niche.
Yeah. And I haven't had any problems with it at all. But I like that one.
When you're not working, what do you love doing?
I like being out in nature. I love going hiking, hiking through nature, going on long walks. I like spending time with my kids, of course, and my husband. We like to go on little adventures together. Either it's like traveling long distances or even short distances, like a daytime kind of thing. I like attending live theater and concerts and going to the movies. I really enjoy that because I always find, and I get fully immersed in paying close attention because I always learn something when I'm watching others work. So I spend a lot of time doing that. And then exercising when I have the energy.
Oh, you've got a lot on.
You know,
I'm gonna interview Murray Wilkie, and he has a YouTube channel called Scotland's Mountains. So he's really into hill walking. So if you're interested, you could check that out for some good routes and things.
Yeah, because that's something I want to check off. Like that's on my bucket list. I
There's some
need to go
great walks up in Scotland,
in
England as well, but
Scotland.
Scotland in particular. And what music do you like listening to right now?
Okay, that's like that's a big one.
Yes.
Music is a huge part of my life. I don't even know where to begin with that, except that my father is a huge influence. Um, to get to the point, music that I'm currently listening to, my youngest turned me on to a folk singer by the name of Vashti Bunyan. I never heard of her until recently, and we went to see her perform at the Roundhouse in London. And I was so taken back by this incredible ensemble that she had set up on stage with her. And then listening to the fragility and the sincerity and the poetry of her music, I found it so moving. So I've been listening to her music lately. If I'm not listening to that, I listen to everything, but I do listen to classical music on a daily basis. It's kind of like an addiction of mine, and I'm always revisiting music. And lately, I've been revisiting Sibelius's symphonies. Been listening to his music. But yeah, if not that, then whatever is popular now. I mean, I can't help it. I'm a child of the '80s with this sort of I adore the alternative '80s scene. Can't help it. So there's this like standard that I have with popular music, listening to like old school, could be rap, it could be backpack rap back from the '80s, '90s. That's something I've also interested in. Jazz, Motown, of there's old classics, old rock. There could be, I mean, it's endless, the music that I have going on at any given moment. But
Do you sing along to them as well? Obviously, as a singer.
of course,
Yeah.
I would do that. Maybe not in public. Well, maybe I will. It really all depends. But yeah, I'll listen to things. I like cranking it up in the car. And if I'm doing tasks around the house, I have the music on. It's like full blast. But yeah, singing along with it is like, you have to, it's a part of you. But
I
yeah.
remember someone said that music is the closest thing we have to a time machine. Does it have that effect for you? Does it take you back?
It does. It really does. It can catch me off guard in a way where I'm kind of frozen and thinking about a certain time and place, of course. And then memories come flooding back and emotions come flooding back, and you just experience and feel those things. And I believe, at its core, that's the beauty of it. And it's a wonderful thing that we can all share and experience.
Oh, absolutely. Have you been reading anything lately? Have you had time to even read? You've got so much.
I do read. I do read a lot of articles, and I read the news. I'm always having to read through things when I either have an audition or I have a project that I'm working on. I'm focused on reading through something, absorbing some information. I am reading a book currently. I couldn't help myself. It's called Cocktails with George and Martha. And for anyone who's like a fan of the play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, both the play by Edward Albee and also the film version of the play with Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, it's kind of like an in-depth, solid, behind-the-scenes look of the development of the play from its inception and Edward Albee's, his thoughts surrounding that and his experiences to the transition of it becoming a Hollywood blockbuster. And it maintains its clout even as we speak. So yeah, a book that's all about that, and that's what I'm currently reading. And it's again, it's called Cocktails with George and Martha by Philip Gefter.
Okay, and so if you like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, then you would like this. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Um, could you tell me about the younger Corinne? What did she want to do when you grew up, as it were?
Oh boy, the younger Corinne, I was a ball of energy, constantly on the go, very curious, very observant. I was, if not, always in nature, always outside, running around, running through the woods, through the neighborhood. My mother said that I was usually up at the crack of dawn, wanting to play. I was very lucky that I am one of five and I had siblings. And I consider that the greatest gift in my life, but I always had somebody to play with. So I was a very active young child. And that hasn't ceased.
I can see that. I can see that. Look at all
That
the stuff you're
childlike
doing.
quality and being curious. I was also very, at bed, as a kid in bed, you kind of look out the window and I would stare at the stars. And I was always curious about outer space and what was out there. So I watched a lot of like sci-fi films, a lot of like horror films, anything having to do with the unknown. Um, and this, when I was about 10 years old, my father got me up and said, I want you to come downstairs and watch this program. And you knew that when you're woken up to come downstairs and watch something on PBS, it's kind of like a privilege. So he sat me down and I started watching Cosmos, A Personal Voyage with Carl Sagan. And that completely changed my perspective as a kid because I knew that there was information that I had that I could adhere some logic to that gave sort of like a backbone to my curiosity and my interest in outer space. And I wanted to become an astronaut. I wanted to work with some form of some space program affiliated with NASA. That was something that I wanted to do as a child, kind of off and on. Later in my teenage years, kind of off and on, but it never came to fruition. Although I'm still very interested in space exploration and current events with that. So that's what I wanted to be when I was younger. And, maybe someday I'll have an opportunity to play someone in, running a space program for NASA or something along those lines. But yeah, that's an interest of mine for sure.
Have you seen films, space-orientated films? That thought I want to do that role.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and it's just there might be some people watching this thinking, I know what she's gonna say. Uh, there's Star Wars, the whole Star Wars universe, and I've always dreamt of, and even now, dreamt of playing a role, something with it. It doesn't even have to be a big role. It could be something of a substantial being part of that world. And part of telling that endless story that now has developed all of these spin-offs. So it's yeah, that's a big one. And certainly I went to the theater and saw it very first, Star Wars, in 1977. And have seen everyone since in the theater. So I might be aging myself a little bit there, but who cares? That's that's yeah. So
No,
in a
I
nutshell.
remember going to see Return of the Jedi, and it was the first I saw it when it came out, and it was the first film I saw in the cinema, and I've never forgotten. it was so good. It was so exciting. We couldn't wait for
It
it to start.
is. And
It's
the ending of that is so touching because here you have Luke Skywalker. I can't believe I'm talking about Star Wars right now. But
that's
here
okay.
you
You're
have,
allowed.
here you have Luke Skywalker at the very, very end. Everybody's celebrating. He looks to his side and he sees, he sees ultimately he sees his father, who, I mean, and that's like the main character
Yeah,
who's passed on to another realm. And for him, he's kind of nodding in acceptance of that, his father is fine wherever he is. And when you lose somebody in your life and you think about if they're okay, and again, here's that concept of grief and all of that, it's resurfacing. um there is this like there's a solace in that, and there's like an element of grace. And so yeah, I as a kid watching that too, I was like blown away and moved by it, and I think that's probably my favorite one out of the entire series of films. Return of the Jedi.
oh no, it's a great movie. I had no idea that you were into Star Wars as well. I'm not a Star Wars nerd, but I do love the movies, and I love watching them with my kids as well. But yeah, I was just trying to piece it together because obviously they've got classical music, they've got the John Williams
Mhm.
score, and they've
Mhm.
got they've got serious actors. I think classically trained actors. In certainly in the original Star Wars and in many of the others as well, as well as more mainstream actors. So it could actually be a good fit with your
I
classical
would love
training
that.
and and the opera and so on as well. You
I
know,
would, if that were to happen, I'd feel like I finally arrived.
yes.
It's all come together.
So what would you say to your younger self?
Oh, uh, I would say that not every journey is the same, you know, um, because when you're a kid, you have ideas, and you might have goals. And even as you get in a young adult, you have goals and everything. That there's this. You can't help but compare yourself to other people and what they're doing. And sometimes a person's journey might be very linear, and that's you look at that and you think, okay, that's the way to do it. I've had too many detours in my life, therefore I'm going about it all wrong. Well, you know what? Not every journey is the same, and so that's what I would tell my younger self. So that way I could just kind of go through life without having to deal with the amount of anxiety I've dealt with, thinking that I'm not going about this the right way. And life, that is, and goal setting, even things having to do with studies, even with everything that's culminated with the work that I'm doing now. So that's what I would tell myself.
Okay, oh, that's a lovely thing to tell yourself. So where do you see yourself in where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years time?
Uh, Hopefully, doing what I'm still doing. Yes, except with greater wisdom to impart and some really cool stories to tell, with a smile on my face. And yeah, that's what where I hope to see myself in 5 to 10 years from now.
And what would you like to take with you in your bag when I maroon you on Shetland?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess it wouldn't be fair to it wouldn't be fair to say, well, I want to take a solar charger with a satellite phone. I mean, that's just like, well, I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, what's the point? I would say Herman Melville's Moby Dick.
Okay, it's a good
Okay.
read.
And you could pick it up anywhere in the book and start reading it, and there's something to gain from that. um, my favorite puff jacket, because I know it's cold up there.
Yes.
Long jeans, so I'm warm, hiking boots, and I guess sunscreen. Even if it's cloudy outside, you have to protect your skin.
Yeah, you do.
So And then just hope that somebody rescues me as I'm wandering around this island with Moby Dick in hand, gazing out at the ocean, wondering like, oh, what am I going to do now?
I think you'll enjoy it a bit though. Okay, Corinne, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a lot of fun, Stephen.
Thanks, Corinne.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. You there? It's
I,
like there's two
I,
of you, and so okay, there we go.
hey, so, thanks. I'll just put it back there. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Corinne. It's always a bit awkward at the end when you have to say goodbye.
I know that's always kind of weird, but that was a lot of fun. I mean, I did like prepare myself with some ideas, but I didn't like have anything specific going on because I always feel like it's better to keep things sort of fresh
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
with that there comes a lot of like it just becomes for just with past experience it becomes more fun and like
Yes.
funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so not wooden, just having a prepared answer. It's nicer to be
Yeah,
more
yeah.
spontaneous. Absolutely.
So I hope your viewers find it interesting.
No, no, they do. I hadn't realized. Obviously, you like a lot of the same music, and so I like the stuff from the '80s. I like classical music, jazz, Moby Dick. I haven't read it for ages, but Moby Dick's such a great book.
It
Um,
was required. It was required reading for me when I was growing up because I mean, growing up in New Bedford, literally on the first page or into the
Cape
second
Cod,
page.
yes, yeah, that was the connection. I'd meant to say that before. Yes, Cape Cod and
It's
Nantucket.
yeah, Cape. Well, you have New Bedford, Massachusetts, and so Ishmael. The story starts out, he's in New
Call me
Bedford.
Ishmael.
Yep, and so what's New Bedford as a city? I mean, it has its whaling history. Predominantly, it dominated the entire globe. It was the city that lit the world because of the whale blubber that they were able
Ah,
to
of course it was. Yes, it was a
harvest.
massive industry.
Yeah, and now today it is one of the major fishing ports in the United States, if not the major fishing port. So I grew up in a fishing city, that was its primary industry. And so Moby Dick was like, all of us, we in high school, we had to read it. And everything was like reference to Moby Dick everywhere you went. So, but it's such a fascinating book and it's such a heavy concept. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's a heavy.
So,
No, it's a heavy book. It's a heavy. Yeah, it's a book. It's a book about whaling. It's a book about writing about whaling. It's a book about writing a book. It's a book about the classification of whales. There's so many so many things in it. And then maybe it wasn't even written by Herman Melville. Maybe it was written by his wife. Was the other theory I heard?
oh yeah, I mean, and that's just a theory. But no, I mean, I can't with the level of the intricacy of just the detail and the information. I wouldn't even know how she would have like access at that time to that kind of info. Um, yeah,
No, you're right. I mean, it's very yes, it's very specific about whaling. So yeah, the knowledge would have to come from him. And the other books as well. There's Bartleby the Scrivener, and what's the other one called? About the oh god, I can't remember its name. It's like on a pirate ship or something. Anyway, I can't,
I don't
sorry.
remember. That's okay. I don't remember either.
I'll look it up and I'll tell you what it's. I keep thinking the word Jack or something, but that's a good read as well. Moby Dick's the best. Moby Dick's definitely his best work. But Corinne, I better go though. I've got that the
No
buzzer.
worries.
I told him not to buzz me. but they buzzed me anyway before. So apologies for that.
No worries, no worries. I get it. I mean, you're working,
It's,
but yeah, just I'll probably be seeing you in the future anyway. You know, but thank you for this. I had a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing the finished product and watching it. And I get to share it with people, which is fun too. So
thanks so much, Corinne. Oh yeah, we will get you to look at it. I mean, Sean's really good, and so we just want you to look good in it as well. We're not, it's not to make someone look silly. So no one. So and if you want to make any changes to it, that's fine. So far, no one's wanted any changes. They've just been happy with what he's done.
yeah, I'm so like. It is what it is, and I have usually no problem with anything
Yeah.
like that at all. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Corinne.
All right. You have
Okay.
a good
Oh,
day.
can you? Like, I'm going to close this down, but can you just leave the app open just for a few minutes because it might need to upload from your end.
Oh,
If you see
yeah.
what I
No
mean.
worries.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll just leave it alone.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Corinne.
All right.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.